Next on Relevant Radio, your favorite weekly appointment. It's time for the Nazareth Project. Faith, marriage, and family talk for the everyday Catholic. With your host, Lydia Lococo.
Good morning, Archdiocese of Milwaukee. Welcome to the Nazareth Project. Faith, marriage, and family talk for the everyday Catholic. I'm your host, Lydia Lococo. I'm so glad to be here another week. Glad you tuned in. I have a lot on my mind today. And unfortunately for you, you're on the wrong end of the radio dial. So, on my mind today is the subject of education, and especially the church's role in Catholic education. I think it was sparked by a conversation I had 2 days ago, and someone told me the church needed to be out of the business of education. Okay, don't get me mad, because anyone who knows me, if you know my family, you understand I have a fair amount of what do men say? Skin in the game. Is that what they say? Skin in the game? Do I sound cool? I know nothing about sports. I've had 23 straight years, however, of sending children to parochial grade school. That's what I do know about. And I will have, in 3 years, 17 straight years of paying for Catholic high school. If you know anything about Catholic education or private school, that is a financial fork in the road. But it's a road that I know that many people walk with me. We do it joyfully. Personally, I think it's worth every single penny. We're going to interview someone today who is working to make Catholic education available to some of our most underserved students. I can't wait for you to listen to that discussion. But underlying all of this is kind of a proposition that I've been thinking about. I was up at Holy Hill giving some retreats to high school students. And it got me thinking, okay, you've got a few minutes with high school students. What do you really want to say quickly? How do you communicate truth? And so we talked about the proposition that there is truly objective truth and that it can be the object of study. That's our theme today. Not even Catholic education. Is there truth and can you study it? And for that, I'm going to take you, listeners, all the way back to your high school or college days, to Plato. Remember Plato? And the Republic, and the story of the cave. Do you remember that one? You think I'm not going to go there, don't you? Because nobody in their right mind would talk about Plato on morning radio. Oh, yes, we will. So in the Republic, this is going to be interesting. Don't panic. In the Republic, Plato gives an analogy of life as if it were lived in a cave. So in case you don't remember, this is what he says. Imagine human beings living in an underground, cave-like dwelling. Plato said that these individuals have always lived in the cave, chained and facing the wall. All that they saw and knew were images that appeared on the cave wall. Behind them was reality, as lived in the light. So shining through the cave door is the light, but they are facing a wall and only see shadows. The prisoners would in every way believe that the truth is nothing other than the shadows of the real life. And if someone compelled him to look at the light itself, wouldn't his eyes hurt? And wouldn't he turn around and flee the things he's able to see, believing that they're really clearer than the ones he's being shown? In other words, you'd best be able to see those shadows. And when he came into the light, with the sun filling his eyes, wouldn't he be unable to see a single one of the things now said to be true? He would need time to get adjusted before he could see things in the world above. End of story. I'm going to propose that we live in a culture, we ourselves and the people that we know are people who live in the shadows, and that we are so accustomed to living in the darkness, we are not even aware of the light, nor can we see by it. We send our children to schools where a mission and the purpose of an institution is, number one, to acknowledge there is a light, and number two, to communicate to these kids that the source of that light is the sun, S-O-N, and that illuminated by this light, the truth of the real world can be the object of study, right? That's what we're trying to to do when we give these children, when we inculcate them with this wonderful deposit of faith we have, that's what we're really trying to communicate, that there's a reality. We live in an age, I think this is pertinent, because we live in an age of pre-evangelization. It's very frustrating for a lot of you out there when you say, well, I bought him a copy of the Catechism. I told him to go to Mass. They can't stand the light right now. Their eyes are not strong enough. So we sometimes catechize other people, not realizing they only live in the shadows. They can't handle the brightness of his light, and they would rather run for the shadows. It's a very difficult thing to bring the truth to those who've never heard it, and how much better to share our deposit of faith, which is the belief that he, Jesus Christ, is all truth, with our young people from the very beginning, right? What an idea. I know, instead of having to evangelize people who literally cannot handle anything but shadows, let's start when they're little. Wow, let's not drop the next generation. And let's inculcate in them a love of truth and a love of the light. So coming up on today's show, I am so happy to have with us Andrew Stith. We interviewed in the studio earlier in the week. He is president of the new Cristo Rey High School in Milwaukee. It is going to open in the fall of 2015, but he's already busy. We're going to take a quick break right now. When we come back, I want you to listen to our interview with Andrew Stith, new to Milwaukee. You're listening to The Nazareth Project on Relevant Radio, and we'll be right back.
In today's car buying marketplace, the difference is the people inside the dealership. Uptown Motors sets the bar in customer service. Here's co-office manager Dar Sinoni. Dar, tell us about Uptown.
And working here 24 years, you actually see how they treat their customers not so much as just a customer, but more as a family member. You know, they're very concerned about their well-being, their kids, what they're doing. And I think a lot of people like that, and I think that's why they come back. They like the family feeling. Oh, in 24 years, I've seen a lot of repeat customers. I mean, basically, you end up knowing them by name, you know, because you see them so much. So there's quite a bit of people that come in here over and over again and buy their cars.
Buy a new or used car from Uptown and they'll donate $200 to the parish of your choice. This is not a gimmick. It's who they are. Stop in and see what customer service is all about. Uptown Motors, Catholic owned, Catholic proud. RelevantRadio.com, keyword Uptown.
We're back with the Nazareth Project on Relevant Radio. Here's your host, Lydia Lococo.
Welcome back to the Nazareth Project, Faith, Marriage, and Family Talk for the Everyday Catholic. This is Lydia Lococo. We want to remind you that we have encore shows on Saturday and Sundays at 9 a.m. also, and we're so happy that you're here. I am in the studio today with a very special guest, kind of new to the Milwaukee area, and we are here with the president of the new Cristo Rey, Andrew Stith. Andrew, welcome.
Welcome. Thank you. Thank you, Lydia. I appreciate being on the show.
Now, we try to do our best here when we do background bios. We don't just go with the titles. We don't let you pull one over on us. So we've got everything you ever wanted to know about Andrew. But Andrew comes from Kansas City, where he served as vice president for advancement of Cristo Rey in Kansas City. And if you don't know what Cristo Rey is, sit back, pop a Diet Coke, you're about to. Before that, he was the development director at the Notre Dame High School for Boys in Chicago. His wife, Anne, and he have 3 children. I think you're parishioners of St. John. 4 children.
Yep.
How new is this? An
Yeah.
8-month-old. Well, that's exciting. And you're parishioners of St. John Vianney.
Yes, correct.
That's great. Right around the corner from me.
Great parish.
Andrew, what you have to do is what we like to do is make believe that our listeners know nothing about what we're talking about. So somebody has just walked up to you on the street. They've never heard the words Cristo Rey in their life. What is Cristo Rey?
Sure. Cristo Rey is a Catholic college prep high school, which uses a corporate work study program and rigorous academic curriculum to teach low-income students and really prepare them for college work and life.
And I know I've looked at, there's all kind of 60 Minutes did a documentary. There's quite a few little documentaries you can look at. they're still on YouTube. They're great. So I'll tell you a little bit more about it. But Cristo Rey is run by a certain order, or is it affiliated with an order?
Yeah, well, in 1996, the Jesuits actually founded Cristo Rey in Chicago. It was a densely populated Latino neighborhood. Father John Foley was the founder of Cristo Rey, a Jesuit, and he went. They went to the people in that neighborhood and they said, "What do you need?" And the people said, "We want our kids to go to a great school, a great Catholic school." And the Jesuits at the time knew that they couldn't start a private Catholic school and charge these families tuition because they were poor, and so they needed to do it some other way. They needed to figure out how they were going to do this, and so they went to the business community in Chicago. And a businessman came back and gave them a proposal for the school's first corporate work study program, which became the genesis for what is now a part of the model in every Cristo Rey school, where students go to school 4 days a week and they work 1 day a week. So, and in exchange for the work that they do at businesses, they earn money towards the cost of their education, thereby making it an affordable proposition for their families. We can't charge because we solely serve low-income families. We know we can't depend on tuition to support our schools. So the Jesuits started this, and
those Jesuits,
they were out there, they were out front, and it worked. Right around 2001. It caught the eye of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and a venture capitalist from California, B.J. Casson, and they put about $20 million into the pot and said, "We want you to replicate this school around the country." And
which you've done. Which
has happened, and now there are 28 schools, and Milwaukee will be the 29th school. So we're excited. In the fall of 2015, we will open to students the 29th Cristo Rey school in the country.
So you are the president of Cristo Rey, and you are going to be located in a renovated St. Florian's.
Yes. Many people have memories about CYO basketball games at St. Florian's.
And you are building your staff and getting your steam up for that first year. The first year you take 100 students. Is that correct?
That's correct. So we scale up a year at a time. We take 100 students the first year, and then we add a class every year so that by the fourth year we have our first graduating class.
So do you top out at about 450 then?
Yeah, 400, 450, it would be a nice number. Mm-hmm.
And then you run it, and what the secret behind Cristo Rey is obviously not just that the Jesuits found a way to fund education for lower income, underserved populations. The intangible that happens when a child whose parents maybe don't speak English or have a high school education, have not worked in the corporate world, when they get exposed to all those intangible mores, right, that we take for granted because they start saying, it's a different kind of learning. So what do they learn on a Friday when they go work for Northwestern Mutual? What do they learn?
So I'm glad you brought this up because this is really the transformational component of Cristo Rey. Within the context of Catholic education, we provide students an opportunity to experience the dignity of work. And by going out to work 1 day a week, they build confidence in themselves that they can offer something to the world, that they begin to believe in themselves. And, what we find with young people is we better show them a way that they can engage in the world and give what God has given them back to the world. Because if we don't show them and we don't help them find that, then they'll find other ways. And sometimes those other ways are less positive ways. And so by allowing them to go in the workplace, we allow them to learn social skills, work with other people, build rapport, trust, learn how to operate in a setting, learn how to introduce themselves. Very simple things, but things if you don't have a model at home exemplifying those things are very sometimes difficult to learn and don't come naturally. The second thing is we give them a broader worldview. Right. Most of these students, they consume media, they see what happens in their neighborhood, and many of them are their worldview is restricted because of that. What we try to show them is there are so many things in this world that you can do with your talents. You just have to know about them. You just have to find out about them. And if you want that office, if you want that life, then you know what? There are steps we have to take, and college most likely is one of those steps. And so it begins to help a student understand that if I want to get to a point B in my life, I have to start at point A and work my way work my way sequentially towards that point B. And then lastly, and I think this is so important, the student begins to have access to people who can make decisions, who can help them along their way, who can write a letter of recommendation, who can eventually give them a job. Because what happens with students is they become college-bound, diverse young people who know that they fit in the world and have the confidence to go out and be that to the world. But what happens with the businesses, it's transformational all around. It helps the school, it helps the student. But what happens with the businesses is they have this relationship with this young person they never would have had before, and they see the value in that, and they see the value of what they do and how their business, while it's about the business, it can also be about bringing the community with you and giving the community a meaningful place, and developing young people. Like we all know, we businesses cry out for diversity, but they want qualified, diverse employees. And what we keep saying is that when you invest for 3 or 4 years in a young person, by the time they're seniors, they're going to be some of the most well-polished young people in the city, and there'll be people that business people will trust. They know the ways of the business, and they'll have direction in college. So they'll get to college, and instead of saying, well, I don't really know what I'm going to do, I don't have any thoughts, maybe I'll just take some classes here or there, they'll have a direction, and they'll have a purpose and know where they're going. And so that's exciting. Okay, so let's say I am the mother of an underserved population, and I want my kid to have a piece of the pie, and I'm going to drive. I don't care what I'm going to do. I'm going to get him or her into Cristo Rey. What would a student? How do you choose these 100 lucky cream of the crop kids? Right. Well, you would be a lucky student because your mother is actually wanting to drive and get there. We don't run into that an awful lot, but we do try to engage the families in the process as well as the students. I would say to start, our students all of our families have to be low-income families. Right. If you have enough money to afford to come to Cristo Rey, you can't come. And that's a preferential option for the poor. That's how we exercise it. I would say, secondly, the student has to be willing to work. We get a lot of students from varied educational backgrounds, and we tell them, you have to do homework to come to this school, and some of them have never experienced that before, surprisingly. Others, we try to explain the corporate work study program, and that requires a longer school day, longer school year, some additional things on the student's part, but they have to be employable. What I would assume you're going to cultivate some feeder schools. So what would be 2 or 3 feeder schools that you will say, boy, these people know how to eyeball a great, promising student? So I would say we're in the process of developing relationships right now. We're recruiting. At this point, we've kind of started talking with principals in the Milwaukee area. But I would say, our goal is to be a metro-wide school, and that we would build relationships with the Catholic grade schools, yes, but also with the charter and the public grade schools. Okay. Cristo Rey schools look for students who otherwise couldn't access Catholic education. And so sometimes that happens within the Catholic grade schools. They don't have the financial wherewithal or other means or for whatever reason can't get to or can't afford the Catholic high school. But it also happens in the public schools and the charter schools. And actually, we do work with students in those schools because some of their parents desire a faith-based education, the education that we offer, and we find that they can be a good fit as well. Well, before we are done with this interview, I have like 10 questions lined up, but I'm just going to have to bring you on another time. Uh-oh. You will come another time. I will. I'd love to. You know what? Let's say you come back at the beginning of your first year. That would be so exciting. Okay, we'll recap. You have an event, and that's what we want to get out there. October the 16th. Yes. You have an event that will be at the Wisconsin Club. Now, listen up. It's at 7 a.m. That means if you work outside the home, if you are a businessman or woman, that's going to be easy for you, but just get a little early start on your day. If not, make it, put it on your calendar and get there. And why don't you tell us the title of this event? Sure. This is actually that event is part of the Richard A. McGarity SJ Lecture on Faith and Culture. So it's actually a 2-part event. The part that you mentioned for the early risers is the morning The morning event, we actually have an event the night before on Wednesday, October 15th at Marquette University in the ballroom where Father Foley, the founder of Cristo Rey, and myself will be speaking about Cristo Rey in Milwaukee a little bit more, Cristo Rey Jesuit. And we'll have the keynote address at 6 p.m. that night. Father Foley and I will come back that morning, then, that October 16th, with Paul Eberly, a business leader, a well-known business leader, well-respected business leader in Milwaukee. And he'll kind of add some testimony as to how he's been involved with Cristo Rey and what his firm plans on doing. Also, I'd like to reiterate that Cristo Rey Jesuit High School will be a co-ed high school. So we're really excited that for the first time, females will have the opportunity for Catholic and Jesuit education in Milwaukee.
So what we're going to do, listeners, is we're going to thank Andrew Stith, the president of Cristo Rey, for being our guest, and we're going to put on our website, thenazarethproject.com, all the links and information that you will need to visit CristoReyMilwaukee.org. So details of the show that you just heard, information about the new Cristo Rey School, and links to how you can go to the evening event at Marquette University or the morning event at the Wisconsin Club, which is the October 15th and 16th, are all going to be on our website, thenazarethproject.com. Andrew, thank you for being our guest.
Thanks for having me.
We're going to take a break right now. When we come back, it will be time for our mailbag. You are listening to The Nazareth Project on Relevant Radio.
In today's car buying marketplace, the difference is the people inside the dealership. Uptown Motors sets the bar in customer service. Here's Uptown Motors' third-generation operator, John Pintler. John, tell us about Uptown.
The cool thing about Uptown is we've served Milwaukee and the Wauwatosa community for 67 years at this point. And we're a firm believer that business and customers can get along and do things in a mutual way here. And what's good for our customers is good for our dealership. And what we really thrive on is having people come back time and time again. A lot of our customers are people I've grown up around. I started out as a lot attendant. I was washing people's cars. I would drive them home when they were here for service. Then I started selling cars and got to work with these people. And now I'm in a position where I get to help structure deals where we find the way to make the payments and the car all come together. And these people really become family.
Buy a new or used car from Uptown and they'll donate $200 to the parish of your choice. This is not a gimmick. It's who they are. Stop in and see what customer service is all about. Uptown Motors, Catholic owned, Catholic proud. RelevantRadio.com, keyword Uptown.
We are back with the Nazareth Project on Relevant Radio and your host, Lydia Lococo.
Welcome back to the Nazareth Project, Faith, Marriage, and Family Talk for the Everyday Catholic. It's time for our mailbag. I hope you don't take notes while you're driving, but if you're at a red light, you might want to have a pencil and a piece of paper, or if you've got a cup of coffee in your kitchen, take a few notes down. I want to spend a little bit of time on what's coming up in the Archdiocese. You know my mantra, there are so many great things going on in the 10 counties. The Archdiocese of Milwaukee, you're not going to see them in the Milwaukee Journal. Maybe that's not their job, but you will see them if you go to our archmail.org. Like us on Facebook, follow what's going on, try to keep up, read your bulletins. There are a lot of great opportunities, and we want to take a minute and talk about them. Remember to send me your questions or any community calendar items. You can send them to me, or you can ask questions at 414-758-2241. That's a dedicated phone line, 758-2241. That's a 414. Leave me your first name and parish along with your question, or you can email me at nazarethproject@archmill.org. All right, I've been promoting these two. You're going to hear the flyers. Listen to the paper rumple because I've got them right in front of me. They're beautiful. Two important masses coming up very soon. First of all, Jubilee Mass, October 4th. 10 a.m., St. Dominic's Catholic Parish on Capitol Drive in Brookfield. We have a Mass for couples celebrating their 25th and their 50th anniversary. That's silver and golden, and also any couples married more than 50 years. This is a Mass. Archbishop Listecki will be the presider. There is a reception afterwards. The couples get a corsage. They get a picture with the Archbishop. The reception is lovely. There are flowers everywhere. I mean, your parents would love it. Your grandparents would love it. You might love it if you've been married 25 or 50 years. So it's $40. That includes a certificate to commemorate your anniversary, etc. You just contact the Nazareth Project, or you can go on our website, but it's October 4th. And the second Mass is a very special Mass. It's only the second year that we've done it. I want to draw attention to the Mass of Hope and Healing. The Mass of Hope and Healing will be on October 8th. It's a Wednesday at 6:30 at St. John Vianney Parish. These are archdiocesan events, but these are host parishes. This Mass is for anyone who has suffered a pregnancy loss due to miscarriage or an ectopic pregnancy or a stillborn or a newborn death. These are very delicate situations. You probably have someone in your family that is silently grieving, or someone you know. I know last year's Mass, a man came in and he had lost a son who lived for only 3 days in the 1960s. And he came to the Mass with a walker and on the arm of another grown son. The grief is still there. It's important for us to share it with the community. Bishop Don is going to be the presider. He is so lovely, especially in these kind of situations. So I would invite you on Wednesday, October 8th, to come join us at St. John Vianney for the Mass of Hope and Healing. October 5th through the 7th, right before that, is Hearts United at Christ the King Parish. You can go to heartsunited2014.org. It's a great mission event. All kind of speakers. This is sponsored by the Rosary Evangelization Apostolate. So important. Drop in. No registration is required. For more details, go to Hearts United 2014. And then just two reminders for your calendar. A few months from now, Women of Christ is November 1st at the Washington County Pavilion. You need to register now at womenofchrist.net. And the Encounter Young Adult Conference, which is a Steubenville Young Adult Conference, one of only 2 in the nation, November 8th, Cousin Center. Register at arisemissions.org. Whew, that's a lot just saying it. But do you see all those great things going on? Amazing opportunities for prayer, for worship, for information, for growing in your faith. That's it for our mailbag. We want to encourage you to send us anything you have. We'll be happy to promote it. Obviously, no cost. But right now, we're going to end our great show with a little thought about what really matters. We live in an age where words have no meaning. And truth is what I say it is. Just look at the nomenclature assigned to gender on Facebook. If you don't identify as male or female, so what? You've got 56 options under gender on Facebook. And folks, if you haven't heard this and you think I'm crazy, please go home, park your car, get out of your car, go inside, sit down at your computer, and Google gender options on Facebook. 56 options. You can use, I love this part, up to 10 of them on your profile, all at one time. A baby can be a baby if I want it. If I don't want it, it's a blob of flesh. There is no truth, and words have no meaning. We've got to start back at fundamentals again, and you and I are called to testify to the light that's shining through the cave doorway. But then we have to go back into the cave in order to rescue those who still live among the shadows. And that, in the end, is what really matters. Thanks for joining us today on the Nazareth Project, Faith, Marriage, and Family Talk for the Everyday Catholic. You can stay in touch with us on Facebook, Twitter, and our website, thenazarethproject.com. You can call me and leave a message for our mailbag, 414-758-2241. Today's show and all our past shows are available online thanks to our handy-dandy producer, Aaron Dolan, at, the gosh knows not me, at thenazarethproject.com. Coming up next week, Grace Urbanski, Director of Children's Ministry at the Apostleship of Prayer. I hope you'll join us. Thanks for chatting this morning. I'm Lydia Lococo, and we'll see you next Friday. God bless your day.
You've been listening to the Nazareth Project on Relevant Radio. Tune in next Friday morning at 9 for more faith, marriage, and family talk with Lydia. And for more information about today's guests and topics, visit thenazarethproject.com.